Welcome to the Bible Quiz and Trivia channel. Today, we're diving into the depths of 1 Timothy, challenging you with 30 tough questions to test your knowledge of Paul's instructions and teachings. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and like this video to support our content. After the quiz, share your score in the comments. We love seeing how well you do. Are you ready? Let's get started. Question 1. Who was the author of 1 Timothy? A. Peter. B. John. C. Paul. D. James. Answer: C. Paul. Paul identifies himself as the author in the very opening of the letter, addressing Timothy as his true child in the faith. 1 Timothy 1-1-2. Question 2. To whom is 1 Timothy addressed? A. The Ephesian church. B. Timothy. C. The elders of Ephesus. D. Titus. Answer: B. Timothy. Paul addresses the letter to Timothy, who is overseeing the church in Ephesus and needs guidance on how to handle various church matters. 1 Timothy 1-2. Question 3. What is the main purpose of writing 1 Timothy? A. To encourage Timothy to come to Rome. B. To instruct Timothy on organizing the church. C. To rebuke Timothy. D. To announce Paul's retirement. Answer: B. To instruct Timothy on organizing the church. Paul writes to Timothy to provide instruction on how to lead the church, including guidelines on worship, leadership qualifications, and handling disciplinary issues. 1 Timothy 3:14-15. Question 4. What specific instructions does Paul give about prayer in 1 Timothy 2? A. Pray only on Sundays. B. Pray without lifting hands. C. Pray for all people, including kings and all those in authority. D. Only men should pray. Answer: C. Pray for all people, including kings and all those in authority. Paul instructs that prayers, intercessions, and thanksgivings be made for all people, highlighting the importance of praying for those in authority to lead peaceful lives. 1 Timothy 2-1-2. Question 5. How does Paul describe the qualifications for overseers and deacons in 1 Timothy 3? A. Overseers must be skilled in business. B. Deacons must be recent converts. C. Overseers must be above reproach, married only once, temperate, self-controlled, and respectable. D. Overseers and deacons do not need to be believers. Answer: C. Overseers must be above reproach, married only once, temperate, self-controlled, and respectable. Paul lays out specific character and leadership qualities for overseers and deacons, emphasizing integrity, management of their household, and a good reputation even outside the church. 1 Timothy 3-2-12. Question 6. What does Paul say about the role of women in church in 1 Timothy 2:12? A. Women should have equal roles as men in teaching. B. Women should teach and assume authority over men. C. I do not permit a woman to teach or to assume authority over a man. She must be quiet. D. Women should be the main teachers in church. Answer: C. I do not permit a woman to teach or to assume authority over a man. She must be quiet. Paul discusses roles in the church context, specifically stating restrictions concerning women teaching or having authority over men in the congregation. 1 Timothy 2:12. Question 7. How does Paul describe the mystery of godliness in 1 Timothy 3:16? A. As something understood by all believers. B. He appeared in the flesh, was vindicated by the Spirit, seen by angels, preached among the nations, believed on in the world, taken up in glory. C. As a mystery that will never be understood. D. As a concept only for the apostles. Answer: B. He appeared in the flesh, was vindicated by the Spirit, seen by angels, preached among the nations, believed on in the world, taken up in glory. Paul poetically describes the mystery of godliness, encapsulating the essence of Christ's incarnation, ministry, resurrection, ascension, and global proclamation. 1 Timothy 3:16. Question 8. What warning does Paul give about the latter times in 1 Timothy 4? A. Some will abandon the faith and follow deceiving spirits and things taught by demons. B. There will be no challenges in later times. C. The latter times will bring complete peace. D. Only the apostles will understand the latter times. Answer. A. Some will abandon the faith and follow deceiving spirits and things taught by demons. Paul warns that in later times, some will depart from the faith, adhering to deceitful spirits and demonic teachings, highlighting the need for vigilance and sound doctrine. 1 Timothy 4:1. Question 9. What does Paul instruct Timothy to do with the prophecies made about him? A. Ignore them as they are irrelevant. B. Use them to wage a good warfare. C. Keep them secret. D. Write them down and publish them. Answer. B. Use them to wage a good warfare. Paul reminds Timothy to use the prophecies previously made about him as a motivation to fight the good fight, maintaining faith and a good conscience. 1 Timothy 1:18-19. Question 10. What are Paul's instructions regarding widows in 1 Timothy 5? Widows under 60 should be enrolled if they have been faithful to their husband. B. All widows should be financially supported by the church. C. Widows should be married off quickly. D. Widows over 60 should be put to work. Answer. A. Widows under 60 should be enrolled if they have been faithful to their husband. Paul sets guidelines for supporting widows who are really in need, specifying conditions under which they can receive support from the church, focusing on those without family to care for them, and has shown faithfulness. 1 Timothy 5:9-10. Question 11. How should elders who rule well be treated according to 1 Timothy 5? A. They should be ignored. B. They should be given double honor, especially those whose work is preaching and teaching. C. They should receive no compensation. D. They should be frequently tested. Answer. B. They should be given double honor, especially those whose work is preaching and teaching. Paul instructs that elders who lead effectively, particularly those involved in preaching and teaching, are worthy of double honor, which includes respect and financial remuneration. 1 Timothy 5:17. Question 12. What does Paul say about the love of money in 1 Timothy 6? A. It is a root of all kinds of evil. B. It is necessary for happiness. C. It should be pursued above all. D. It is insignificant. Answer. A. It is a root of all kinds of evil. Paul famously notes that the love of money is a root of all kinds of evil, leading some away from the faith and causing much grief. 1 Timothy 6:10. Question 13. What are the dangers of desiring to be rich according to Paul in 1 Timothy 6? A. It leads to complete fulfillment. B. It leads to a trap, many foolish and harmful desires that plunge people into ruin and destruction. C. It has no potential dangers. D. It ensures spiritual growth. Answer. B. It leads to a trap, many foolish and harmful desires that plunge people into ruin and destruction. Paul cautions against the desire to be rich because it tempts people into a snare with many foolish and harmful lusts, which can lead to ruin. 1 Timothy 6-9. Question 14. How does Paul instruct Timothy to fight the good fight of faith? A. By being passive. B. By giving up when it gets hard. C. Take hold of the eternal life to which you were called. D. Focus only on personal gain. Answer. C. Take hold of the eternal life to which you were called. Paul encourages Timothy to fight the good fight of faith by taking hold of the eternal life he was called to, emphasizing perseverance and commitment to his divine calling. 1 Timothy 6:12. Question 15. What advice does Paul give Timothy about his health in 1 Timothy 5? A. Ignore your health for the sake of the gospel. B. No longer drink only water, but use a little wine for your stomach's sake and your frequent ailments. C. Exercise rigorously every day. D. Focus solely on spiritual health. Answer. B. No longer drink only water, but use a little wine for your stomach's sake and your frequent ailments. Paul advises Timothy to use a little wine for his stomach issues and frequent illnesses, showing his concern for Timothy's physical well-being in addition to the spiritual duties. 1 Timothy 5:23. Question 16. What does Paul say about those who want to get rich in 1 Timothy 6? A. It is a worthy goal. B. They fall into temptation and a trap. C. They will be blessed. D. They should give it all to the church. Answer. B. They fall into temptation and a trap. Paul warns that those who desire to be rich fall into temptation and a snare, leading to many foolish and harmful lusts, which drown men in destruction and perdition. 1 Timothy 6-9. Question 17. How does Paul define true godliness with contentment? A. As a means to financial gain. B. As great gain. C. As unnecessary for Christians. D. As less important than wealth. Answer. B. As great gain. Paul states that godliness with contentment is great gain, emphasizing spiritual richness over material wealth. 1 Timothy 6-6. Question 18. What charge does Paul give Timothy regarding the rich in this present world? A. To envy them. B. To ignore them. C. Not to be haughty, nor to trust in uncertain riches. D. To join them. Answer. C. Not to be haughty, nor to trust in uncertain riches. Paul instructs Timothy to charge those who are rich not to be haughty, nor to trust in uncertain riches, but in the living God, who gives us richly all things to enjoy. 1 Timothy 6:17. Question 19. How does Paul describe his own appointment to service in 1 Timothy 1? A. As a former blasphemer and persecutor. B. As an expert in the law. C. As a volunteer. D. As the chief of sinners. Answer. D. As the chief of sinners. Paul describes himself as the chief of sinners, highlighting his dramatic transformation and God's grace in appointing him to service despite his past. 1 Timothy 1:15. Question 20. What does Paul say about handling false teachers and their teachings? A. Embrace them. B. Learn from them. C. Command them to stop teaching different doctrines. D. Ignore them. Answer. C. Command them to stop teaching different doctrines. Paul instructs Timothy to command certain men not to teach false doctrines or devote themselves to myths and endless genealogies. 1 Timothy 1-3-4. Question 21. What instructions does Paul provide about slaves and their masters? A. Slaves should disobey their masters. B. Slaves should respect their masters to honor God's name. C. Slaves should seek freedom at all costs. D. Masters should be harsh. Answer B. Slaves should respect their masters to honor God's name. Paul instructs slaves to regard their masters as worthy of all honor so that God's name and the teaching may not be blasphemed. 1 Timothy 6:1. Question 22. How does Paul describe the law's purpose in 1 Timothy 1? A. Unnecessary for Christians. B. Made for the righteous. C. Made for the lawless and rebellious. D. Only for Jews. Answer C. Made for the lawless and rebellious. Paul clarifies that the law is good if one uses it lawfully, understanding that it is made not for the righteous, but for the lawless and insubordinate. 1 Timothy 1-9. Question 23. What does Paul recommend about younger widows? A. They should be enrolled as church widows. B. They should remarry, bear children, and manage their households. C. They should dedicate themselves to lifelong service. D. They should live in poverty. Answer B. They should remarry, bear children, and manage their households. Paul advises that younger widows should remarry, bear children, and manage their households to give the adversary no occasion for slander. 1 Timothy 5:14. Question 24. What are the dangers of arguing over words according to Paul? A. It is a useful exercise. B. It ruins the hearers. C. It is encouraged. D. It strengthens faith. Answer B. It ruins the hearers. Paul warns that quarreling about words is of no value and only ruins the hearers, urging Timothy to rightly handle the word of truth. 1 Timothy 6-4, 2 Timothy 2:14. Question 25. What does Paul say about physical training compared to godliness? A. Physical training is useless. B. Physical training is of some value, but godliness has value for all things. C. Physical training should be prioritized. D. Godliness is irrelevant. Answer B. Physical training is of some value, but godliness has value for all things. Paul acknowledges that bodily exercise profits a little, but godliness is profitable for all things, holding promise for the present life and the life to come. 1 Timothy 4-8. Question 26. How should members of the church treat older men and younger men? A. With disdain. B. As brothers with all purity. C. Without respect. D. Indifferently. Answer B. As brothers with all purity. Paul instructs to treat older men as fathers, younger men as brothers, older women as mothers, and younger women as sisters, with all purity. 1 Timothy 5-1-2. Question 27. What does Paul instruct about drinking only water? A. Timothy should continue only drinking water. B. Timothy should use a little wine for his stomach's sake and his frequent ailments. C. Drinking wine is sinful. D. Water is harmful. Answer B. Timothy should use a little wine for his stomach's sake and his frequent ailments. Paul advises Timothy to no longer drink only water, but to use a little wine for the sake of his stomach and his frequent ailments, highlighting a practical approach to health issues. 1 Timothy 5:23. Question 28. How are church leaders to be treated if they sin? A. Ignored. B. Encouraged quietly. C. Rebuked publicly. D. Removed immediately. Answer C. Rebuked publicly. Paul directs that those elders who are sinning are to be rebuked before all, so that the rest may stand in fear. 1 Timothy 5:20. Question 29. What does Paul mean by laying on of hands? A. It is a form of punishment. B. It is an act of healing. C. It should be done hastily. D. It is a part of ordination. Answer D. It is a part of ordination. Paul cautions Timothy not to be hasty in the laying on of hands, referring to the practice of ordaining someone to ministry, underscoring the seriousness of committing to this act. 1 Timothy 5:22. Question 30. How does Paul suggest Timothy keep his conduct above reproach? A. By being secretive. B. By being an example in speech, conduct, love, faith, and purity. C. By withdrawing from others. D. By asserting his authority. Answer B. By being an example in speech, conduct, love, faith, and purity. Paul advises Timothy to set an example for the believers in speech, in conduct, in love, in faith, in purity, emphasizing a lifestyle that reflects his teachings. 1 Timothy 4:12.